Last week, my title of my message was A Journey of Awakening. And I told a bit about Barbara and our journey of creating our lives together and to creating this center. And we ended that talk by announcing our retirement. And I have to say that kind of changed things for me, making that a public statement. It's like I can't take it back now. And it means that every time I stand on this stage, I better say something important. So any kind of casual sense that this can go on indefinitely, and if I don't get it this time, I'll get it next time, is gone. So in that thought process of this week, it seemed so clear to me that I needed to continue this thought of our journey. And what I want to do with that is share with you the four fundamental states of consciousness that we move through that aligns so perfectly with this teaching and with what you've been listening to all morning. That's what we're going to talk about. So let me share them with you. They're to me, by me, through me, and as me. Many of you have heard this before, but what I'm discovering is that you can only hear from these different states of consciousness if you're in them. So that if you have some enlightened teacher teaching from the as me, to the multitudes, they're not hearing it there. They're hearing it down here into me or by me as best they can, because that's where most people are. So what I want to ask you today to do is make that not true for you. To actually, with me as I speak on each of these four fundamental stages of consciousness, that you assume that state as best you can imagine in your mind. Because I really want us all to get it and to be able to use it. So that's where we're going this morning. And we'll begin with to me, because everything begins with to me. Life begins with to me. We are born into this world with these wonderful bodies to use, but early on in using them, we don't have a lot to say about it. Yes, we get to poop whenever we want, and we get to cry, but we don't get to decide when the food goes in the mouth. Somebody else decides that. We don't get to decide when we're laid down and when we're held up. Somebody else is making those decisions for us. And it doesn't take long for us to figure out in this new thing called being human on planet Earth that life's happening to me, that people are controlling what's happening, and that once I've got some movement in my life and I'm running around and doing things, I'm hearing the word no a lot. And I'm being told I can't. And no matter how much I protest, it doesn't change the fact that I'm not allowed to do that. So life must be happening to me. There are forces in the universe that are controlling what I get to do. And most people on the planet carry that attitude into adulthood. So they're always looking for who's making them do something. And you can hear it all the time. You can hear it in the way people talk. You really made me angry. Or the quintessential question, why is all this happening to me? It's even got the words in it. Other words as well. Why am I being picked on? Why don't things work out for me? Why am I so unlucky? Why is the world so unfair? These are all to me questions. Now there's good stuff going on with to me, and I'm not telling you to me is bad. It's essential. You have to have a starting point. But if you stay there, yes, you get the good times, you get the wonderful experiences where people bring you gifts or give you hugs or tell you they love you or give you a raise or whatever it is that you perceive them giving you. That's all lovely, but that's all counterbalanced with all the stuff you don't like that's happening in your life. And how we so easily want to blame that on someone else, on a parent or an employer or a partner or whoever. We want to share it. We want them to have to be the one that needs to change so that we can have the life that we want. And frankly, that will never work. That leads to endless strings of unhappiness and confusion and bewilderment and all the things that we really don't want to do anymore. But it is where we start. And it is what we're called to rise above. in life. The entire self-help movement was based on getting people out of to me and to look at life a different way. And so when we're done with thinking that everything is happening to us by other forces, external forces, it's time to move to by me. Really? I have control? I can make things happen in my life? Yes, you can. Now, when people first figure this out, and they're on that bridge moving between to me and by me, some interesting things happen. Some of it is vengeance, retribution for all that stuff that you did to me. I'm going to get you. Now, that's a very immature and poor use of by me. But once people, those that get through that and no longer need to blame people for others and attacking them, we move into a state of saying, yes, I really do have an ability to change my life. And it's my job to do that. Cliff was telling me the other day that he was once interviewing a musician, and they asked what the church was. The person said, well, what do you believe here? He said, well, we believe in personal responsibility, that we have the ability to change my life. He said, the guy looked at him and said, oh, I'll never believe that. He got up and ran out. Not everybody's ready for this. But I believe that we are. So what do we get from this? Well, we use the tools that we teach here, like affirmations, because all affirmations are saying that we have within us the ability to change the conditions in our lives. And we work at it, and we work at it, and we work at it, and we change our habits and behavior, and we start finding that better things are happening in our lives. And that's all great and wonderful. One of the challenges with By Me, though, is that it's still on our back, that our life be better. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to understand that we have the ability to do that and to act on it. But it can get exhausting. It can get compulsive. It can get neurotic if we stay with this idea that anything that goes wrong is a punishment because we didn't think right or do right. And we feel all this pressure from this, like it's not working out, it's not happening the way I want it to happen, it must be me, I'm doing something wrong. And that's not the answer. That will not work for me, or it won't work for you. So perhaps there's more to do other than taking this all on ourselves and saying that we are the ultimate source for our lives, that there may be something greater and more glorious going on that we need to tap into. So what we do is we move from by me to a thing called through me. Through me is founded in the idea of faith, that there is something greater going on in the world than what we are physically and mentally able to do. Something greater going on. And this is a powerful place to be. In Christianity, they call it the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit. And that's fine. There's nothing, if that's the way you want to configure it, that's fine. But the idea, and it's Holmes who would always say, there is a power in the universe greater than you are. That's a through me concept. There's a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. Wow. You see, if we limit everything to by me, then we can only accomplish in consciousness what we know. And that's called mental equivalence. So that when we want an outcome, we can only imagine a series of things happening for that to be so. It's like, I need more money in my life. So I have to convince my boss to give me more money. That's a by me statement. Through me would be, I am open to receive the goodness of the universe from any source, however it wants to come. I'm here. Bring it on. And when we do that, we open up to all possibilities. And we use that thing that is greater in consciousness than we are, that knows everything. Now, we teach you that you have access to everything, but your mind is not designed to know everything all at the same time, nor is mine. So we know a limited amount of stuff, and we use that as best we can. But when we open up to something greater, and don't set a limitation on it, we're changing the rules, we're changing the dynamics. We're actually creating something greater and more glorious than we could on our own. That's a key factor in when we do our spiritual mind treatment with our practitioners, is they're not going to set a course for how something's going to happen. How is really none of our business. Our only business is seeing the perfection of the universe reveal itself. And as I've always said, God's in the midst of everything, even the stuff we don't like. So there's something glistening, something beautiful, something meaningful, even in the stuff in life that we don't like. I'm experiencing that all the time. So that's where the through me comes. Now, the thing with through me is it's a high level of consciousness, except that we're still trying to orchestrate everything. You know, we still have our preferences, and we still have our desires, and we're knowing that this powerful, majestic force is actually creating that into our lives. And that's all wonderful stuff. But there could be something even greater than that. And that takes us to ASME. Not many people can go here. Not many people can truly accept their divine nature. We think we can. In fact, it was Sai Baba that was once asked, how is it that you can do all these supernatural things? And Sai Baba looked at him and smiled and said, because you think you're God, and I know that I'm God. So it's a knowing that carries us to a place called ASME. And this is where all the mystical stuff happens. Now, as I said, most of the people in the world are in a state of to me. Those that work on themselves are in by me. Those that can accept their spiritual experience can be in through me. But to be the presence of the divine is heresy in most disciplines. Yet we stand here and say, you are the presence of God. That which is the creative force of the universe is you. There is no separation. There is no difference. And if truly this idea, which is the foundational idea of our teaching, oneness is true, is absolute, then you have to be. How could you not? It was Ernest Holmes' teacher, Judge Thomas Troward, that said that the infinite exists infinitely at every point. You are not a part of God. You are all of God. Now, I say that to you, and as always, I get some blank looks in the room. But this is being at that level of ASME. This is being the presence of the divine. When I do my treatment work, I always seek to remember to say the words that my words are God's words. And I find that when I speak those words from that state of knowing, my words are God's words. What comes out of my mouth, beyond that, the thought that comes into mind, is perfect. It's not trying to manipulate. It's not trying to change. It's just revealing what is already so in the truth of the divine, that life is perfect, that we are living perfect, wonderful lives, no matter the conditions. Conditions fall away at the point of ASME. It doesn't matter. God's still there. And what I have seen in this one that I have shared almost half of my life with is that she's living much of the time in this state of ASME. That she's transcending this thing that she's not able to use her right hand, or that there are conditions in her body that I would rather them not be there. She simply knows who she is and deals with life from that place, and it's beautiful to watch. So if you ever get an opportunity to share with this one, the Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse, you can begin to understand what ASME means. I love you. So these are them. These are the stages. When we do spiritual mind treatment, we always start by knowing the presence of the divine, by recognizing that infinite presence as best we can in the limitations of our individualized minds. We know it as best we can. And the next step is to know that that is who and what we are. That's as me. I've had people say to me, I probably don't do the first two statements. I know that stuff. So I just go into the third step, which is, this is what I want. I guarantee you that's a problem, because it is never enough that we share with ourselves this idea of being the divine. It's rigorous work, but the result is that suddenly judgment falls away, limitation falls away, and life in its perfect form reveals itself to us. And that's what we seek, to live in a perfect world. At least what I seek, and I hope you do too. So take these ideas, be aware of where you're playing, where you're thinking, where you're acting. And see if you can't up the game so that you pop up into that as me more than you used to. It's a gracious, wonderful way to be in life. And it does create an incredible journey of awakening in me and in you. And that being so, we let it be. So it is.